It's like clear Coke.
I am so hip. Miranda.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. As you can see, we've already been chatting about. Welcome to our latest episode of Vox Vomitus. I am your host, Jennifer Ann Gordon, the author of the Kindle Award-winning novel, Beautiful, Frightening, and Silent, as well as the Hotel series, which includes From Daylight to Madness and the soon-to-be-released When the Sleeping Dead Still Talk. I am once again, as always, by my Vox Vomitus Vixens. Vox Vomitus Vixens. Vox Vomitus Vixens. Okay, I can say it. Trisha Ridinger McKee, the author of the Beyond series, and Allison Martine, author of the Bourbon books. As you can see, we have two amazing guests with us today, two fellow female authors who are also podcasters as well. So we are going to introduce Miranda Oh and Jenna Greene. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
So this, I feel like, is the Global Authors on the Air slumber party, because we all, you guys have a show on Global Authors on the Air. We do, obviously. I feel like we should get Alistair and Tamara here, and maybe Christy Stratos, and then we'll have like a big party.
Hello,
Braid each other's hair. Do you realize that we could all sit and braid each other's hair, including Alistair's? Because his is pretty long.
Yeah. We could do like one of those like circle sit-ins.
Or we need enough people to do like the Brady Bunch grid, and then we'll just like all dress up.
Yeah.
All right. So I will start with Jenna. Jenna, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know, Jenna, put you on the spot. Yourself, your work.
Miranda. No, just kidding. What did you ask? You I got startled, Pat.
Right, or like, I can't do. Just tell our awesome audience who they're listening to. Tell them about your books, who you are, your favorite food. No, you don't need to do that.
Pizza, lasagna, chips. So my name's Jenna Greene, and I'm a YA fantasy author from Alberta, Canada. And I teach the first and second grade. It's like a split class. So I am perpetually covered in germs and goo and glitter and glue. And I have a 4-year-old that keeps me really busy. And I've written the Imagine series, the dystopian thriller Reborn that won a couple of awards. The sequel to that's coming out soon. And I have a picture book in the works. And then I, of course, co-host Quill and Ink with Miranda over there.
Yay!
Yeah, she sure does.
Yeah. So that's a great segue right over to Miranda.
Hello. My name is Miranda Oh. I am also a Canadian author from Manitoba, Canada. So Jenna and I are 2 provinces apart from each other. And I'm the author of the Chin Up, Tits Out series. So it's a trilogy, and it is filled with comedy and drama and this sick, twisted sense of humor with a lot of giggles, a lot of laughs, and something that you just need to like cozy up with a cocktail and tell everybody just to leave you alone until you're done. So that's what I have out, and I have on the works a new series called Love My Lady Bits, where I'm in the midst of interviewing 100 women from around the world that all suffer with a disease called endometriosis. I suffer with it as well, and it sucks the big kahoonies. So I figured, you know what, let's just find a reason to love our lady bits a little bit more and make 100 new friends in the act of it. So that's going to be coming out next year.
Oh gosh, I love that. There's so much about both of you that I just am like, I love you both so much. First, I love your Canadianness. I've always had, I'm going to call it like a Canada fetish, because where I live in the United States, I'm really close to Canada. And I grew up obsessed with Degrassi Junior High and Anne of Green Gables.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Canadian. We're more the corner gas kind of region, but if you've ever seen that show.
Not the Prince Edward Island.
Yeah, pretty much. Or the Schitt's Creek, like that's definitely.
Yeah. I love Schitt's Creek.
Jenna and I are open for support comedians everywhere on social media right now. We see that Americans are looking for.
I was gonna apply. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have a waiting list or anything, or can we just like get right to the top of that? Because we need support.
You do sign up, and one will come to you.
Yeah, exactly. A good positive sense of humor is the only requirement. So I think we're all
we're
good.
in.
Yeah, we're in.
So, I don't know what to say. Chin up, tits out. It's such a great title, and Jenna, the fact that you write fantasy, I love having you both here because Trisha and Allison. Trisha writes women's fiction. She writes everything, but she writes women's fiction. That's her Beyond series. And Allison also writes contemporary romance, alcohol-related contemporary romance. Is that? And also literary sci-fi that has like a fantasy twist. So I love that you're here. I'm a horror author, and we've had a lot of darker authors on the show so far. So you're like our first like giggly, really pretty. Not that anybody's like pretty. That's not what I'm saying. But like you're our like. You really relate to our guests, our hosts right now. So I was
going to say, I think, Miranda, you might be the first romance author we've had on. So I just say thank you, because usually I'm sitting there going, if this gets any scarier, I'm going to crawl under my desk. And there was actually one where I said, I'm not doing it. And otherwise, I like to sometimes, if I can, I want to read what our hosts or our guests have read. And I'm like going, this is too dark for me. If I have nightmares, it's Jen's fault. And I just these things.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Like I read fantasy, I read romance. These are like, thank you. These are my people.
Good.
And Christian, thank you, Christian.
Christian's
laughing.
Emotional. We should do this, Amanda. Or not Amanda, Miranda. I know your name. We don't have this.
I know. I like this. No, we also don't do live. We are too chicken to do live. So like we pre-record, and then Saturday mornings over a cup of coffee, I do the podcast and put it together and then launch it, because I'm so nervous about doing something that I mess up. I still have marbles in my mouth every single week. Like I can't get an introduction out without being like blah, 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 blah. So yeah, maybe that should be our season 2, is starting to do live.
They're scheduled, and I still filmed an episode from my car that I had to pull over on the side of the highway. So let's maybe season 3.
Jenna, why were you in your car, even if it was scheduled? Was there like an emergency or
no? I work out of town, so I work about 45 minutes away, and Miranda and I are different time zones, and sometimes I get them wrong. And if I'm halfway home and we have to film, I can't go back to the school versus home. So we were doing 2 back to back that day.
We were.
So
yeah, we were.
I pulled over on the side of the highway, and I climbed in my back seat, and I put like some coat stuff on the window, because I have a lot of crap in my car. So
you see like an arm of a hoodie tied onto like the handlebar, and you're like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Yeah,
it's my broadcast
the sun out of the way."
And then when we ended that episode, Miranda's like saying goodbye to our guest, and she's like, "Jenna, hang up." And so I stopped recording. I got back in the front seat of my car and I drove home. She said goodbye to the guest. And then I drove home and I like ran in the house, and it was like at the buzzer. And my husband's like, "What are you doing? Aren't you supposed to be filming?" I'm like, "Yes."
Like, please
I
try
am
it safely. Like, don't
and
get into an
I think
accident.
I'm supposed to be the more put together of us two. But
Oh.
whoever said that is dumb. I'm not. How am I? I don't know.
I work from home, so I have the advantage now, right? So I don't have that extra commute time that I'm stuck kind of doing the highway drive. So
Same.
yeah. Like technically 5 p.m. I end work and I'm like, all right, let's turn on this webcam and start this podcast.
So I love, so Jenna, you just said that you're supposed to be the put together one. Do you guys have like this odd couple dynamic of just like, I'm the business and she's the party because her titles have the word in them?
I was told to be the business. I was like, oh.
Oh.
Who told you that? Can you please know or like rotate who has to be business?
Well, now it's kind of merged and it's been realized that I can't hold that persona.
No.
And so
that is a lot of pressure.
We're both business, we're both serious, but we're also both fun. And it's gotten a lot better since we decided not to have me do that.
Well, and then we also kind of decided to split our show up into 2 different phases, even though we go on tangents. So the first half of the show, I ask questions. The second half of the show, Jenna asks questions. My questions are very much personal related, what people do that outside of writing, because we all are humans. And to me, that's the stuff that, tickles my fancy, where Jenna's like, tell me about how you write about characters and how you come up with scenes and all the big words in the literary industry.
And the crap.
Yeah, that I'm like, you go, girl. That is all you. Like, I just did that. I'm like, my work is done.
Oh my gosh. So now next time we don't have a guest, we're going to have to figure out which one of us is the business. I think it's Allison.
Oh, that's you two. I'm out of that. We know I'm not business.
You're not the business.
None of us can math. So if there's math required,
none of us are the business.
No, you guys are good at the business.
Show has the word.
I'm absent-minded.
Yeah,
I can do lawyering, but I don't want to.
Yeah,
that's true.
See, I feel like that's why you're the business.
No. I don't want to be there.
Well, so earlier, Jenna said
Jenna's gonna be our business too.
Miranda's the one that's got she organizes everything. I don't know why they ever said.
Then that's Jen.
Yeah, I'm like a type A personality.
Point the other way, Trisha. She's over there.
Yeah.
That's right, but that's okay.
So how long have you guys been doing Quill and Ink?
Ooh, just shy of a year. We're coming up on our year anniversary. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next month, I think December is.
Yeah. I feel like this is one of the longest committed relationships I've had. No, just kidding.
Nice.
First anniversary, what? Paper? What do you guys give each other?
Paper.
It's paper. Oh, I'm going to write you a love letter and send it in the mail. I like writing love letters. They're so much fun. Nobody writes them anymore, right? Like.
Well, and I burned all the ones I had, so that's no fun.
I have a Post-it that my husband wrote once where he said he loved me. I've kept that for like 5 years.
Yeah.
I have some Post-its.
He didn't write "I love you" because that's too many words. He wrote "love you."
Oh, I got the love, yeah. I unloaded the dishwasher. Love ya.
Did you keep that in a scrapbook forever? This is the time he did the dishes.
Yeah, exactly. It's taped onto my desk. Remember why he's a keeper.
I wrote it in my diary the last time my husband did the dishes.
Dear diary, my husband did the dishes. Now I know he knows how.
I have one dish, but he's still.
So I am going to toss this over to Allison and Trisha. If you guys have any questions for Jenna and Miranda before we get into the nitty gritty of all the mistakes we've made while writing.
I have one that just popped in my head because just Miranda, your series title just cracks me up so much. But I don't want to make any assumptions based on the titles. What heat level do you write at? And I ask this for a specific reason because we've often joked that it feels like there is on one extreme Quaker and Amish romance where there is courtship and longing gazes, and that is it. And then the other extreme where it is, it's just porn. I don't really know where to put it. It's porn. It's erotica. It might be very literary erotica, but it's porn.
For sure.
I personally kind of write in that PG-13 niche, and it seems like no one's looking for that. Everybody's looking for either hand holding, and God forbid the characters ever fornicate, or on the other extreme, it is fornication. So where do you fall with the
fornication?
I feel like I might fall into like a 14A if we're gonna give it like movie ratings. So,
hey, what is that, Canadian?
I was gonna say she's like a PG-17.
That's Canadian.
Like, okay, sorry. How about there? Okay, there is heat, but there is a point of things that are left to the imagination.
Thank you.
So like we definitely talk about nudism. That's not a word, but it's right. Nudity. There it is. Is it Friday yet? No.
Nudism
is Wednesday.
So there's nudity and there's fornication and there's curse words and the F-bombs dropped a couple of times and that little inner voice that's particularly a sailor, it swears a lot more like that comes out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So but there's a lot that's left to the imagination. So you could have your 16-year-old pick it up and still, have mom and dad be okay that they're reading it. And then you can have like an 80-year-old grandparent that picks it up and really enjoys it. So yeah, I try to appeal to the whole masses. They're like, what's your perfect reader? I'm like, anybody that's walking and breathing.
That buys the book.
Like
literate.
Oh, it's easy to read. Come like big, like no big words with constructive sentence. Like no, it is an easy read.
Same.
Like I need you to drink alcohol or whatever floats your boat that can make you feel a little bit better. And just do it because it just makes the book that much better, the series that much better.
Yes.
I haven't read your second one yet, Miranda, but I read your first one when I was camping and I was very relaxed, I guess is the word.
Yeah.
Well, I was, a little, and then my sister-in-law took it and then she hasn't given it back yet, but yes, she had a few beverages and I highly enjoyed it as well.
Right? Like I keep telling the people, you gotta have your beverages, and every book you pick up is so different. The first book is super whimsical and romantic, and then the second one is like a gut punch with a lot of hilariousness in it, but it's darker humor. And then the third one is like you get a kick in the backside and you dust yourself off and you give yourself a self high five and you go, all right, let's rock it, girl. Let's rock out with your what out. That's what you're going to do for the third one. So like everything is very different. All the three books are very different. I was a very different person when I wrote each book. So it very much translated through each of the stories.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that. Trisha, do you have any questions to you?
Sure. How did you two happen to get together for the podcast, and what do you think draws you two together to be such great hosts together?
I swiped right on Tinder. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. Actually, we're represented by the same publicist, Mickey Mickelson at Creative Edge. So he was the one that said, you guys are going to be great. Here's a Facebook chat together, friends. And then a year later, we're like BFFs that have never seen each other.
I've never physically met. Yeah. I know a lot about her for someone that lives 2 provinces away because just during the interviews we get to know each other, but then we'll talk after. And I think we do so well because we're very similar and at the same time vastly different. We have similar goals, we have similar values, but that we complement each other. She's far more techie than I am. But I don't know what my skill is, but
you're very into this whole researching aspect and the craft of writing, where I just puke out the words.
Word vomit.
Yeah, and
Word vomit.
Jenna, you think about it and you put together these beautiful, beautiful scripts for us. So we're very much like two peas in a pod, but vastly different at the same time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh. I'm getting like chills and a little bit welled up over your book wifeness, because like that's how we describe ourselves. We're like, oh, we're book wives,
Yes.
we're book sisters, we're book besties. And the same thing, the three of us are very, very different, but we have the same goals. We go about our writing differently. We write very drastically different styles, but somehow it works. It works.
And then
At the end of the day, we all make the same mistakes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well.
It gives you.
But it gives Miranda and I different perspectives, because
very different.
Contemporary chick lit with some romance versus YA fantasy that's a little dark. We can kind of approach different authors and have a different perspective, and that really helps. Versus, but then there's also authors where we have absolutely no connection. Like, we've interviewed some nonfiction ones, and we're like, we've never written, although she's starting to, but. So we can either approach it as one of us has kind of an insight into this, or the other one does, or sometimes both of us do, or sometimes neither of us do. But it's just a nice balance.
Yeah, it is a nice balance. Mickey did good. When he paired us together, because both of us were like, we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into.
I was like Googling, what is a podcast? Okay, maybe not that bad, but
to a point of like, how do you make a podcast good? Like, we both, like, as authors, we had been interviewed on them, but being the interviewer is just such a different spotlight. And I like talking, so there's a point in you got to not talk. Like, you're not here to be the spotlight, you're here to spotlight the other people. So there's a lot of learning involved, and Mickey did good when he paired us together, because he knew that Jenna was able to like tone that down on me, and I was able to, bring out other things on her. So again, like, it's a nice fit of the puzzle.
I was curious if Jenna has a mute button for you, Miranda, just like the debate moderators, and just be like, and Miranda's done. Right there.
No, but I have reeled in a few tangents. I let them go a couple minutes, but I'm naturally a talker. That's what my husband thinks is crazy about the show, is that I am naturally a talker. But we also record Thursday nights, and that's getting to the end of the week for me. And I'm a teacher, and I talk all day, and I have little 6 and 7-year-olds in my class, so they don't really listen. So you say the same thing over and over again. So by the time we get to filming, my chattiness has toned down enough that I can do the interview without, interrupting or
Yeah, you've used all your words. I get that.
Yeah.
They are done.
Yeah, I sit behind a computer.
Christian's harding us
again. It's nice. It's nice to have that time to just verbal it all out, and then Jenna just cheers me on or reels me in.
So do you plan ahead of time what you're going to say to your guests? Like, do you
loosely
plan out your show?
Yeah. We definitely do. We have scripts. So we have like a show script that Jenna does the research and then shoots it off to me. I review, and then I have basically a document that has all of the questions that we're going to ask in the order, who's going to ask them, and then follow up when it comes to actually producing the podcast. We have after the show, I write the podcast description. I add all the links. I add the tag, like pop like the tags for SoundCloud. So all of that is kind of done the day of the show. And then we have this whole kind of repository of information that we can go back on. So say we get an interview from author ABC, but they can't actually meet with us this month. They're going to meet with us in 2 months from now. That script, that research is already kind of prepared. We'll just review it a couple days beforehand and make sure it's still relevant, add any new information. And then it kind of keeps me on schedule and on target. So, and again, I'm very type A personality. Like we have calendar invites that go out and like 24-hour reminders and then thank you emails that are sent out. So like there's so much that I have automated the process for because I have so many things going on. I don't like it that it's not, when it's not like that, it bugs me.
Which is why you ask the questions. Like she asked the first few questions and I asked the last few questions, because sometimes my questions have been answered. Like the authors just kind of through the discussion. So I have to make up a few on my own or tweak them with, and I'm fine with that. So I go second. There's no panic.
So Miranda, are you the producer then as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I thought I was getting through all of that. So very nice. You wear multiple hats.
Yeah. I mean, hats don't look really good on me, but like the metaphorical hats, yes, very much so.
I'm the same. I've yet to wear.
I feel like
ridiculous in.
I feel like Miranda has kind of similar hair to me that we would look like Cocker Spaniels if we put on a hat, like because our hair waves out underneath.
Oh yeah, I washed my hair and did it today, and like I actually put clothes on because I had to leave my house for the first time in a week, and like I texted a picture to my partner, and I'm like, "Look at me, I look good," and he's like, "Well, yeah, you do." And I'm like, "Just let me have it. I don't look like this all the time." But yeah, when I put hats on, my hair just goes out like that, and I look like a fuzzball or a convict that just got out of deep solitary confinement, like one of the two.
Either one, fuzzball, convict.
But
potato.
We are really glad you didn't go nudism, nudity, noodles, whatever. We're glad you're wearing clothes.
We did have a podcaster or a fellow podcaster on our show, the Naked Podcaster, but she wore, didn't she? She wore a shirt.
I'm going to be on her show.
I can't remember now.
Jen, I can't remember if she wore clothes for. I think she wore. Did. Yeah, but she doesn't wear clothing for her podcast at all. It's great,
right? So I'm going to be her podcast, and I'm really excited about it. And she's like, "You can be dressed," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm fine with either," because I did burlesque. When Jenna said she comes home from work covered in glitter and glue, I thought, I've come home from work covered in glitter and glue. Drastically different job.
And it's straight to my PJ pants. Like I bring my kid into the house. She goes right to get a cheese stick or an applesauce, and I go left. And the PJ work like you have to wear like dress pants and like it's PJ pants on or sweatpants within the first 5 minutes of being home.
Yeah, very much so.
So let's chat a little bit before we run out of time completely about your writing. So our show is called Vox Vomitus, which is fake Latin for word vomit. So we like to talk about the things that go wrong during the writing process. So usually this starts, I like to ask if you're a pantser or if you're a plotter. So both of you, like, do you plot out your books? Do you know what's going to happen when you're writing?
I would say both. Yeah, both. I would go both. Now, I think my first set of books, I had the story in my mind because I did write a lot about what happened in my life, but from a fiction point of view. I didn't want anybody to be quite embarrassed about their deepest, darkest secrets when I wrote about them. So I knew what was going to be out, but I didn't really plan it. Now, my second series, because I'm interviewing 100 women, that's a lot of stories to encompass. Yeah. So, and again, it will be from a fiction point of view with made up characters and stories just kind of jumbled all in from the information that I got during those interviews. But my goal is to like really map those out. So when I do start writing, it is that verbal diarrhea. I don't have to think, because I can just kind of follow that timeline on the other screen and just get it out and, write for a few hours and then go to sleep, because I'll be tired, hopefully. Or lie on the couch just exhausted. Put it all out there. So I'm a twofer.
I like that.
What about you, Jenna?
I'm both, because I know how the story's going to start. I know how it's going to end. But the characters don't obey.
Nope.
And so
No.
so my best friend, she kind of is, she's not a writer, but she's, a reader, and I bounce ideas back with her. And so we'll sit down and we'll plan stuff out, and okay, this could happen, then this and this. And then as I'm drafting, I send it to her and she reads it, and people are like, well, why would you read it? You just planned out what was going to happen. And she's like, it's never the same, ever. Like, I mean, the themes are there, the ideas are there, but we thought this was going to happen, then this, but really it went like this, or things are later. And so, but those main plot points are there. And then I write series just like Miranda. And so that, you have to have that overarching ideas kind of juggled in your head. It's the little stuff, chapter by chapter, where it's like, what's the character going to do now? And
who knows?
Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't.
And it's more fun when they don't, honestly, because then when you're the writer and you're like, I didn't see that coming, and people look at you like, but you made it up. I'm like, but did I? Did I really?
Did I?
Right?
It's
well,
like
one
I don't think I
that did.
Yeah. Or one little bit of dialogue that you just, you slid in there to end a conversation, and then you look at it, like it could be 3 words, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just set up this whole new thing that I didn't realize. Okay, now we got to go deal with that. And so there's the muse out there that just kind of takes over sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
I agree.
But I always know where I'm going. I know how it's going to end.
So have you ever written something that the ending that you thought was going to happen had to completely change?
No, but I do have my Imagine series. There's 3 books in it, and it's going to be 4 because it was supposed to be a trilogy, but it's not done. So just things took longer. So that's my plan for next summer, probably, is to write that 4th one. So I still know where the ending is. It's just taking some time.
It's just further.
Yeah.
Well, then will the 4th be the end, or just 4th is the next book?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'll let you know.
We're hoping for an exclusive here.
At least my other series, the Reborn series, the 1st book is done. 2nd book is at my publisher. 3rd book is done and drafted, and I love it, and it has a great ending. So I know that will be 3. It can't, But the other one, I don't know.
It cannot.
It could end up being 5, 7, 12.
Yeah, because sometimes people, you say, okay, I have 3 books, so people are like, trilogy, and then that implies that you're done. And like, I've written 3 books so far, and you said, well, 3, but then it wasn't done. So I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be 3 and then 4 will finish, but hold it loosely. Let it happen.
You ask good questions. I don't know.
Jenna's like,
gonna leave it at
that.
There might be a picture book spin-off of characters. Who knows? The thing about fantasy is there's so many characters and there's so many plot lines. And like with the Reborn series, it really centers around 3 or 4 characters. So it can be wrapped up. But the other one has like 10 main characters. Because this is the 1st book I ever wrote. And I didn't know about word counts back then. I didn't know about I didn't know a lot. Like
Trisha, I'm looking at you.
We're all looking at Trisha and her massive word counts that before she knew that there were things like genre standards and people kind of want to stop reading after a certain point.
I didn't know any of that. None of it. I don't know how my publisher picked it up. She was like, it looks great. Can we cut like 90,000 words because it's YA and you're like 100,000 over the
90,000
standard.
words.
I was like, I was 17 when I started writing. It was 1999. The internet was still like
Dial up.
Yeah, right.
Dial up. It was AOL.
Was it
have
or Eudora? Thank you, 1997. Woo.
I didn't have the resources, the information, and that's probably why my career really didn't get going for 10, 15 years, because I just was guessing. I was just writing and guessing.
Yeah.
And then what I learned once that first book came out versus now, like in the last 6 years, I've learned more than I did in the last 26 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Yep, totally.
So were you able to cut the 90,000 words, or did you say,
80.
no, I'm just going to make this into a different
cut
80?
80.
I cut
80,000.
80.
Yes.
And really it's a trilogy, right? So you can move stuff to the other book and keep stuff. And I just thought you had to describe everything. And she's like, why are you telling us what the cloud is like? And why are you telling us the texture of the bark? I'm like, I don't know. Aren't you supposed to? And she's like, no. Such a really nice editor and publisher. And I've learned. And then that it really made my next series so much better, because I learned so much about writing. I know some people have antagonistic relationships with their editors, and they're like, why are they cutting that? And they don't understand the vision. I just like absorb. I'm like, brilliant, good. And I mean, it used to be really hard for me to cut parts out, because I'm like, but it's like a really pretty line. Or that paragraph took me like 6 days. But now I'm ruthless. I'm like, it's out.
It's out.
It's out. It's out. Done.
Yep. It's funny how fast you learn that when you are dealing with other professionals in the industry. I was not the same. I was told that I need to only curse when necessary.
When is it not necessary?
What is when necessary?
Yeah.
Well,
When
I think I went a little overboard. Like
every third word.
Pretty
that might be overboard. Yeah.
I was trying to be expressive, but it just came off as vulgar. So it was like, you're not like, who's your audience? Like, you have this bubbly chick with balloons and a jean jacket and a skirt on your cover, and then you have trucker vocabulary. You're like, how do you market that, right? So
I don't see
both wear jeans jackets. So
hey, right, jean jackets. Jean jackets.
My husband's a trucker. You only curse every 4 words, not every 3.
okay.
That's the standard.
Right. But then by the third book, you're just like, you place those words in there and they have so much more impact versus once a sentence, once a paragraph, you place them in there specifically. And my editor actually was the one who taught me like the importance of placing it in a place with a lot of impact. And I was like, oh my God, it read so much smoother and cleaner, but it still got that, it packed the punch that I wanted to get out there. But it took me 3 books to actually get to a point of understanding the science behind it and understanding that there was science to writing versus just that verbal diarrhea or verbal vomit or whatever bodily fluids we want to talk about.
I got told that about similes. She's like, you don't have to compare everything to everything.
No.
I was like, okay.
No, I'm just gonna toast.
You're like, but what if I want to?
Oh, editors.
I'm just toasting the editors because it really is kind of the thankless job, but it is super important. And I love that both of you have taken these things and instead of taking them as like personal attacks on your babies, but as they are making my work better and they are making what I do a finished product that I know some people think, oh, authors work alone, but there is a collaborative thing there. And whether it's their beta readers or editors, these are really important steps. And some people think they're not important. And I'm just like, and I can tell the people who think they're not important because it shows in the work and it makes me sad. And then I just drink.
Editors are awesome. The only time I've ever disagreed with an editor is maybe if I know something that's happening later in the series that they don't, and they're like, this is unnecessary. And I'm like, oh, but it is. But they're quite good about that. They'll be like, they'll even add in the comments, this seems unnecessary. Unless it's important later, get rid of it. And so that's just because I know the journey.
Right.
And that's really the only time.
Where they're listening to what you're saying and going, yes, okay, let me know. And then there's a trust there that they trust you to put it in if it's needed. And you trust them that, okay, if it isn't, I can let go with it and cut some of those bark descriptions out.
Like I know, I didn't describe it well. It's bark.
The bar sounds like
The stuff I do research though, like if you looked at my browser history, like
this is my
it's
favorite
not like
question.
how to hobble a human being, like or types of poisons, and like it's not.
Okay, but that's more interesting than like Jen researching how to do laundry in the 1800s, and she's like, I spent all
oh yeah,
morning
that was boring.
laundry.
That was boring. But I also had to research like, can a shard of a teacup puncture human flesh? I had to research that, and that was fun.
And the answer
It
is
can.
So
Yes,
interesting.
it can.
Yes, it can.
Especially the
Yeah.
delicate skin right above like the chest. Also, yeah, you know, because I write horror, I have to look up gross things like how many
Right.
rocks can fit in a human stomach, or you know. But I do it for artistic purposes.
You know how social media and everything is so attached, and algorithms are so like, you search up, I want to buy a Honda vehicle, or like what is a Civic cost, and then all the sponsored ads on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook are all now Hondas or other sedans. What are your sponsored ads?
Can I tell you? Because I will tell you, I'm very early stages in like a speculative fiction dystopian rom-com that is about a virus that might be leprosy or it might be herpes. So I've been doing some research about both of those things.
I wanted to laugh when that.
You can laugh because it's a funny book, but the herpes stuff has led to a lot of suggested ads on Facebook and Instagram that are like, do you think you have an STD? And I'm like, I don't, but and then
thanks for asking.
Then I say like neurotic. I'm like, do I? Yeah. I wish there was like a separate thing I could be like, this is book research. Can herpes morph with leprosy? Send,
yeah. Use the incognito. I wish incognito actually worked, right? Or maybe Google search under a different Google account with that. I wonder, that would be really helpful.
No, but he's listening.
You just gotta be careful about using your work computer if you're out of school. Just saying.
Don't do that.
Home computer stuff.
My husband's a teacher too, so we know that same thing. Like, this should not be on your school account. Thank you very much. Jen, are you using herpesy somewhere in the book? Because I think you need to.
Herpesy. I've been like trying to think of smush names for this mythical virus. Herpesy is on there. It was like lepre. It's just a lot of terrible things. Herpesy.
Oh my goodness.
It's going to be the feel-good book of the year.
Especially after this year that we've all had. We can have a good laugh at the herpesy.
Everybody somebody was in 2020 ever again.
No, we're not going to. I love this. Ladies, we have gone 15 minutes past when we normally cut off. So I didn't even look at the clock. So Trisha, Allison, do you have any final questions?
No.
Nothing to say.
I can't.
I feel like I'm going to throw this out here that we should do a live episode, Global Authors on the Air slumber party episode, where we get to like actually wear our PJs and not just our PJs from the waist down, like, because right now I'm just in like PJ bottoms, but like
so full out PJs with pillows and stuffed animals in the background. Yes.
Yeah, stuffed animals, and like we can play Truth or Dare. We can play, lots of things. 2020 is going to end, but things are going to just still be like weird for a while, especially if we don't have our emotional support Canadians for us.
Don't worry,
Give us
we got you.
thing.
We got you.
I can't promise we'll behave.
I love this. We'll behave. We'll behave a little bit. So everybody who has watched this live or is catching it on the replay, or if you're just watching, listening to the audio, the descriptions will have the websites for Jenna and Miranda, and us, your hosts of Vox Vomitus Vixens. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the comments. We always appreciate that. This has been a copywritten podcast from the Global Authors on the Air Network. Thank you for the levity and joy. Oh, levity and joy. I love
From
that.
Elisa Joy.
Yes, thank you.
I know.
I do know the name, Elisa.
I've never been described that way. So this has been a Global Authors on the Air podcast. I just want to say a few quick thank yous to one, Roman Sorotin, my new husband, who is our producer.
Yay!
Congratulations, Roman.
I know. It's so weird. And then also thank you to Pam Stack, our executive producer for the Global Authors on the Air Network. We will see all of you next week, where we will be interviewing Matt Ruff, author of Lovecraft Country and many other books, but just saying Lovecraft Country, I got chills all over my body. So next week, Matt Ruff, I'm going to try my hardest to not be embarrassing to you, Trisha and Allison.
I'm just going to
doesn't
fangirl.
always work.
Don't mind me.
I know. It's tricky. All right. So next week, we'll see you then. Thank you, Miranda. Thank you, Jenna. And
Thank you.
Thank you, of course, Trisha and Allison.